Good to see some of you in a rugby club there. Some England shirts behind you. Very good. Um, cool. Couple more people just coming in. Thanks for giving up your time tonight. I'm going to hand over to Simon, and he's going to take you through the start of the session, and then we'll take you through different parts.
Perfect. So for those of you who don't know me, thanks to Ian's introduction. Yeah, I'm the competitions operations manager. In terms of the county championships, me and my team run the operations of the competition, include from all the way through up until the finals. So obviously this year we are introducing electronic match card across the three competitions. Obviously this has been in the community game space in the clubs for a while now. Probably getting not far off 10 years, I think, from when it was initially introduced. And this is something that we've, in terms of the internal committees that we've got, that we've wanted to really push for. We just think it can help in a number of ways, as the slide on the screen shows. We think it'll help with competition integrity. It'll also help us kind of track the players' pathways as they kind of move through the clubs, through club and then through into county. And it also will give them a kind of, they'll be able to track it all themselves in terms of when they played, like whether or not they scored and all that sort of thing, which is great. Obviously, this is aligns us with other adult competitions. And then in terms of it, we can get the CBs can add players that are already registered, whether that's at a club, already add adult players, I should say, adult registered players, whether that's at a club or whether that's at a university. As I said, Ian's going to walk us through that process in a minute, but should hopefully the aim of today is to kind of walk you guys through the process and from the very beginning in terms of this is how you add a player to your county, then how you assign them to the squad, and then just a brief bit on actually doing the electronic match cards themselves. There is, as Ian mentioned, this is being recorded, so you can always refer back to it. We've also got for each of the stages we're kind of going to run through, there'll also be some support on the community rugby help part of the website. And obviously we're always reachable as well via email to get back to you if there's specific questions you've got. And as Matt said, he's obviously in the chat, just picking up any questions that you can there. What I'll do is once Ian's went through the initial bit, we'll have a quick break just to discuss, not a break, sorry, like a pause just to explain how that aspect of it works. And everyone's got any questions, do the same after we've assigned the players, and then we'll do the same once we have been through a match card, and then that'll be the end of the session after that. So Ian, I'll pass it over to you.
Cheers, Simon. So first things first is as an administrator, someone who is administrating the match card, the first thing your CB would need to do is just make sure the individual has a match card administrator role, which you can now assign. So that's the first thing. The next bit as a CB, if you go to the player management tile, so I'm in a fake, this is a fake CB, I'm going to call it Betelgeuse. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Beetlejuice, Betelgeuse, I don't know. But we're in that CB. We're on the player management tile. So just a reminder for those that may have not done this, you can find the tile on the left hand side. If you click that, you've got the different modules that you may have access to. The key one is making sure that you can get to player management, and then you'll land on players. You will see in here any players that have been assigned to your CB at any point in time. But what you want to go to is the representative players tab. If you click on that tab, here's one that's already in there. But if I want to add a player into my CB who's going to represent the CB in the county championship, then I can do so by clicking on add representative player. And you need to know the name, first name, last name, and date of birth. So I'm just going to do that now. So we've got adult player 1, date of birth is the 1st of October 1997, making me feel very old, and a long time ago when I play, and I click search, and then it brings up the player. So you can see the player is from the Timeless Testers Rugby Club, obviously a fake rugby club that we're using tonight, a testing one, but it will have the club, the name of the player, what type of registration they have, and then you can see the details there, and you can just select that player, and it will pull them into your CB. So I'm going to hand you back to Simon, who will then take you through sort of the next steps around electronic match cards. So pretty simple process, pretty easy to do. Yes, you do have to do it for, each individual player, but it's no different from, what you may have done on paper forms and having names and date of births of players that are representing your CB side. So yeah, pretty easy process. Hopefully that looks easy for you. But any questions around that process? Happy to take them.
Yeah. Do we have to add everybody at the beginning of the season before the first game takes place, as it were, or are we able to add in extra squad members later?
You can add players in whenever you want. So if it's based on whatever the regulations are saying when you need to do that by, but the system's not stopping you add those players in at any point in the season.
As long as you're adding them before the fixture that you're intending on playing them in, that's fine.
So does it? Sorry, LJ. So does this pretty much work on the basis that you do at club level, where you have your GMS system set up, you put down your squad for that game, and then after the game, the home team confirms the fixture?
Yeah, so Simon will talk through that in a second, LJ. But basically, this is just the first part. So first part from a CB, you need to make sure, you've got your squad list of the players that you want to represent your constituent body for in that county championship. You need to make sure you know the name, the first name and the last name of the player, and the date of birth of that player. And then this is just pulling those players. And there's a global search. Registered players, so the players do have to be registered, and it pulls them in and to your CB, so they can represent your CB, and then therefore be then put on an electronic match card, which Simon will take you through in a minute.
Okay.
Was there any other questions with respect to that aspect of the process?
Yes, it's just one other, Simon. Because of the level that players have to play at for different championship divisions, how does that system know that you're at the right level? Or does it know or doesn't it know?
So yeah, it doesn't is the short answer. So obviously I was going to touch on this thing, but it's a good question. So just because the system is similar to in a club, just because the system allows you to add a player, assign them to the squad, put them in the electronic match card, that the system doesn't read that, it doesn't have the regulations kind of input into it. So you still need to make sure that those players are eligible based on the eligibility criteria for the competition that you're in.
Hi, it's Ian from Cheshire here. I haven't got any access whatsoever to the GMS system. There's only one person who has it in our county.
So that person should be able to give access to the other people by assigning the roles.
So the only one who can do it in Cheshire is John Downham. So he's the only one who has access to that, the GMS system.
So John should be able to assign roles to people, as long as also to your GMS account, in terms of how we to give you the appropriate access to be able to do this. So that was the match card administrator role that Ian mentioned before.
Okay.
You're right, Simon. Yeah, with going on from that, so obviously, like I said earlier about doing it as a club format, obviously you have access as a club to access your GMS. We then have to, as a county, then find out who has the access to GMS to give us that role and responsibility to add these players, I assume.
Yeah, so it should be your honorary secretary should be able to do it, because they'll have a level 5 access to kind of as like the overseer of all of it, and they're the ones that can grant the access. If for whatever reason, it's a slightly different numbering system in terms of levels and that sort of thing, but it works on the same premise.
What levels do we have to ask them to set us up as, so we can see all the players? Because I know, for example, I'm going to have players, I've got players trialing who live in the county, but are registered for a club outside the county. So I've got to make sure that we don't just clubs inside our county and things.
Yeah, no, so in terms of your role, in this scenario, so CB permission levels are different to club permission level structure. So CB levels, there are 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3. So your ONSEC will have the level 3 CB permission level. For this task, to be administer the match card for a CB, you just need the role. You don't need a permission level. And then in terms of you searching for players, it's a global search. It's not restricted by region level. You can, as long as you're searching, you're just searching from first name, last name, date of birth, and the individuals will show.
Just seems like quite a GMS nightmare with giving us unfettered access to people. But okay, not like a GDPR thing. I would have assumed that we'd have had like some kind of limit on our access, but no, that's fine.
So, I mean, you kind of saw the level of information that it's kind of giving there in terms of just the club and the date of birth there, which you've already searched for. So yeah, that will be the level of information that comes up for each player, and then we'll go from there. Was there any other questions with respect to that?
What role are we want to be assigned to?
Match card administrator.
Right. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. We'll just share my screen now. Just make sure I've got the right screen. Okay. So, right. So you should now be able to see this. So this was what it looked like before. I've just refreshed that. So now you can see that this is now went up to 2. So this is in the player management module. What we'll now do to assign the players is just go into the team management module. And then we will go into teams. And then there'll be the list of teams. So for most of yourselves, this will just be your senior men's side, your senior women's side, and then your under 20 side. So let's click into the one that is set up in the fixture. So you initially want to go to all club players, and this will bring up all the players that are eligible to be in this. So adult player is one that is already in there. That one has already been assigned. If I just scroll across, so you can see adult player without the number has already been assigned. Adult player 1 is the player that Ian just pulled into the CB. So then we should just be able to click into here, and then it's just cut my screen's a little bit thing. But you should just zoomed in a little bit, but you should be able to see all of them. So you'll either see the button specifically assign to team, or you'll click more, and then you'll click assign to team. And then if I just now scroll across, you will see that these players are assigned here. So if I now go into my playing squad, I can then see those 2 players. So once a player is in the playing squad that you can see on the screen, they will then be able to be added into the electronic match card, which is a process I'll go into in a minute. Has anybody got any questions just about that process?
Does it have front row listed like it did? I mean, I used to use this a couple of years back when I was doing under 18s, and people had to be specifically added as front row to then be allowed to be added as 1, 2, or 3 in the electronic match card.
I'm not sure if it was specific. So the individual players will have that marked against them, which will be the same as if they're on their usual within their clubs. So that should carry across with respect to that.
Okay.
Okay. Was there any other questions with respect to the assigning to the squad?
Yes, so just a quick one from me. So going back to what you'd shown earlier, we have to then physically go in and check the names, the date of birth, to assign them then into this file to then assign them to the player. Is that right? Yeah.
So basically, you're bringing them into the county squad. It's just, again, just terminology, just trying to separate the processes. So yes, you're bringing them into the squad, and then you are then assigning them. Squad's probably the wrong thing. You're bringing them into the county. You are then assigning them to the playing squad.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there. I will just move on. So in terms of electronic match cards, so yeah, a lot of you may have seen this before. This is what you will get. This is in the competition management module of GMS. So when you saw before, I flipped between the player management and team management by clicking in the 9 little squares in the top corner. If you've got the right access, then you'll be able to see competition management as well. So for most of you, you will just see the match card screen. What it will do is it will default to the week. I've just extended this out because I was doing some work earlier. It'll default to this season. But what you will see is you will only see match cards that are relevant within the time frame to the teams within your CB, so within your county. So even if the minute there's no facility for a match card administrator to just have the senior men in this instance, they will be seen as a match card administrator for all three teams, or all teams that are within the county on GMS. So you may see fixtures from the men, the women, the under-20s if it happens to be the same weekend. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to click into this. So Jelly Bellies is just another one of our test teams. So we go from there. So you'll essentially see a summary screen here. This will fill up with all the information that we pull in. The one thing I'll just highlight on this page. So once we get to the end of the match card and everything gets fully confirmed by the home team, what you then get is it will send a PDF to all of the to all the match card administrators for the two teams. If for whatever reason someone needs another copy of it, or it hasn't come through for some reason, if you go to produce match report, there's just this button here on the summary page, it will then give you a version of the same PDF based on the information that's been inputted. So I'm just going to kind of walk through the kind of the processes that we'll need to go through for this. So obviously, those of you who know electronic match card, you can obviously do all the scores and substitutions and all that sort of thing. That's not going to be mandatory. The option is there for if teams want to do it, but at the minute it's not going to be mandatory, which is the same throughout most of the community leagues, from Regional 1 down in the men's, and it's not mandatory at all in the women's community game. So yeah, so we're just going to pick someone. So if obviously you saw with this, so you should have 2 adult players pop up here. Yeah, so just pick one of those. I'll just very quickly show you how to do another bit of it. So then this is down to the bench. Obviously for yourselves, you'll be filling in all of the players. Going from there. So so it's just a case of searching. It's pretty any of the letters in the player's name, and then that'll come up. Obviously comes up with their date of birth there as well. We then just click save. So it just spins around. The match cards will be set up in such a way that the home team and the away team needs to complete their lineups. So if only the home team's put the lineup in, for example, and the away team hasn't done, then it will stop the card from being submitted. So we just need to make sure they're both in. So again, similar idea. So we'll just drop a name in there. So you can see even with an A in the middle of the name of John McLean, obviously, so whoever set up the testing is a diehard fan, then it'll still find it. So it's pretty intuitive in terms of that. Again, we just then go down to save so that that's in there. I'll just show you in terms of what we're asking for in terms of requirements for this, and then I'll quickly show you the match events. So once the match is finished, you'll then go into the post-match tab, and then just drop down the match result to result. And obviously, hopefully this will not be the case, if for whatever reason it is a walkover, don't input that yourselves. We'll send around the details of our result agent. They will deal with anything from a walkover point of view, but assuming all has gone well, we've got our result. So we'll put in the score. We'll just say it was 28-7. Just need the full-time result. You will have to put in try scored. If you don't put in try scored, you will get a pop-up that will come up and tell you that you can't enter it. I can't submit the score until that's done. So obviously with this, we'll just say there was 4 tries to there, and then 1 tries to there. So that will then feed through the bonus points as well. So it all comes through nicely. We'll put the suspected concussion module on there as well. Just in terms of that, there's no liability or anything like that. It's just if a player has a suspected concussion, again, same as in the club game, you can. Takes about the top. You can just drop in the information there about that player, and then once that pops up, then if they will just get some information about return to play from that perspective. So then we just scroll down. There's just some additional information that may or may not be filled in there, but most of that will be fine. If we click submit score, yeah. So that's because I haven't shows which player got a concussion. Take that off for now because there wasn't any, obviously. So that's an example of the pop-ups coming up if it's if you're not completing it correctly. So then we go to submit score. So that will then send the score through to the website. It's just my web browser. So you can see here, it will then pop up with when the score was put in. To finalize the card, you would then go to home team. So it'll just be set up as home team. Here, just for ease, this is what we do in the community game at the levels I mentioned before. So it'll just be a case of clicking yes, and then going down to submit match card, and that will do it. What I'm just going to quickly show you first is just the match events tab. So this is just to stress, this isn't mandatory. This is just something additional if counties want to do it. So in terms of the match types, we've got scoring, we've got the discipline, which is yellow and red cards, and then we've got substitution. So if you're wanting to track how many minutes that your players are playing across the county championships, if you're wanting to track who the scorers are and all that sort of thing, it's essentially just a bunch of drop downs. So you choose what the event type is, in this case a score. You choose which team it is that scores, what the type of score is, so whether that's try, drop, goal, etc., etc. In the wrong place. And then so if I click try, and then I can just choose which of the players scores. And you can add in minutes, but you don't have to. Anything that has a red star next to it or an asterisk, one of those words, is mandatory. So if we then just click that add event, and then it will come up there. And then again, just to very quickly show you a substitution one, which is why I give 2 players in the Beetlejuice team. So again, minutes aren't mandatory. Obviously, the team it is. So the player coming off and the player coming on, it will also ask for the reason, whether it's injury or whether it's tactical. And then we just click add event. And then it's as simple as that. So it's just a bunch of drop downs. All your match events will then come up down here. And if you need to edit it, for example, if it was like, oh, actually, no, it was an injury replacement rather than a tactical in this scenario, you can just go in and edit it and just change it like that. So I said the match event bit.
This isn't compulsory for us to do the match events. It's because in the past I've had to do paper-based with match events for county games, but you're not requiring that this year.
No, not for this. This is fine. We will just do it as if it the rest of the regional one below in the men's community game and the championship one below in the women's. So yeah, so then we'll go to here. We will click home team completed. We'll then click submit match card. Match card will be submitted. It will then come up with a timestamp, so we can see which match card administrator did it, and then when they've done it. As I said, that'll then trigger an email, which will then, if I just go back to the summary tab and just quickly show you. So you can see this is now started to fill in some of the information on the summary screen. If I just click produce match report,
So aware of, just while that's whirring, where there's a number of questions in the chat that Matt's going to bring to us to answer. So we'll go through them in a minute, guys. So don't worry.
Yeah. So yeah, this is basically the email will just be a very short 1-line email with the attachment of this. So you can see it's got the players who have been put into the lineup. Obviously, there will be more for yourselves when that's the case. It's got the scores and the number of tries at the top there. There's the ability to add in the attendance in the venue will come up if that's been inputted, which obviously will. You can see who's confirmed the lineups here. Obviously I've done both of them, but it will obviously display each team's match card administrator. There's nothing there about that or that. And then you can see where it's been sent, which the home official that signed it off and at what time. And then it will have kind of the scoring sequence from the information that was put in on the match events. If you don't fill in obviously any of the match events, then these bits won't come. These bits will just be blank. And then there's the substitute one there as well. So yeah, so that is essentially what we're asking you to do. There is the mobile version of electronic match card as well, which is the same version as what's used in the club game. I'm not going to go through that tonight. Again, in terms of it's just a lot of drop downs in a similar way. But we do have a lot of videos and other support materials on Community Rugby Help. I'm sure you will all be delighted to know that there is a lovely YouTube video of me going through all of this in more detail if you are enjoying my dulcet tones.
Which is a nice little segue just for before we come to the questions. We're just going to show you where that support is. So if you go on to help.rfu.com, that takes you to Community Rugby Help. And that is a portal with all the information that you need to find. You can type it in the search bar. And if you can't find what you're looking for, you need an answer, we have a service desk team that can answer those queries. The articles some of them have videos embedded in that Simon alluded to just then. But the other place to find them is on our Community Rugby Digital YouTube channel. So as an example of this recording, this is where this will be housed. I'll send the link out post-session to everybody. But it will come onto our Community Rugby Digital channel, and you'll see there's various information on here around various parts of GMS, essentially, and the key tasks that clubs are doing it. So they're the key places, but can't recommend enough. There's an example of, when Simon was showing you how to assign players to a team, there's an article that literally tells you step by step what you need to do. So really good information that's available 24/7 for you guys to access. So that's help.rfu.com. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And Matt, do you want to come in and there's some questions in the chat that you want to bring to the table?
Yeah, sure. We've answered a number of them. First one is from Mark, probably one for you, Simon. Under 20 regulations don't require players to be GMS registered. How does one apply this to match cards?
Yeah, so obviously with respect to that's I guess we would be looking for players to be registered for them to get on the match cards. Obviously, if they're not on GMS, then they can't be on the match cards. If we're in a scenario for whatever reason that there is no way for a player to be put on, then there will basically have to be a blank space left on the lineup. And then on the post-match tab, there is a section that will be like home team notes and away team notes, and it will just need to be noted in there the name of the player and their date of birth. Then just some information as to where they play their rugby, essentially, just so we can check on that if that needs to be investigated any further.
Okay, thank you. One from Russell, which I know you'll be able to answer as well. Is there a way to show the match events as a live feed so non-attending supporters can keep an eye on the game?
Yeah, so if it's done like up pitch side as the game's going on, it's not instant, but there's not much of a delay. I think it's like literally a minute or so on the fixture and results aspect of the website. So if they're in the match center on fixtures and results, then it will update as the match events go in.
And what I'll do is, just as we go through these questions, I'll put a link in the chat which will show you ultimately what that would look like in another fixture that's taken place this week. This season. We have a question on the mobile-friendly match card site, which we've answered. I think that's it on the questions unanswered so far, Ian. So back to you.
There was my one about whether there's a deadline before the game we had to have submitted a sort of this is our team by. I didn't notice it in the regs, so I didn't know.
Got it.
No, so yeah, so that's all these things we've kind of emailed out. So yeah, the lineup should be in before the game. But we usually in club it depends in the men's game, it depends from ROC to ROC, I think. But we would usually say it should be in an hour before the game.
Right.
So that's fine. There's not going to be anything in terms of this is obviously one of the advantages of us going to match card is around the kind of integrity bit, where it's a lot easier for us to then retrospectively check a player if we need to.
A few years back, there was a point where the under-18 Girls' Cup had to be 12 noon on a Thursday, which caused me no end of trouble for a game on a Sunday when I had colleges who didn't do physios until the Friday after when we had to put the team in. So as long as we haven't got anything silly like that happening, an hour's loads of times.
No, certainly not going that early. Yeah, I mean, I said obviously we have asked in previous seasons just for it to be a little bit earlier, just to give teams a chance to check. But obviously, once stuff is on, once it's on GMS and on the electronic match card, it's a bit easier to then keep an eye on and check. So that's an advantage to this one. Was there anything else in the chat, Matt, or if anyone else has got any other questions?
Nothing else in the chat that we haven't answered already, no.
Sorry, Simon. So with regards to the lineup, you're saying about an hour before, obviously with club wise, you normally phone a result in. So obviously with this now, we don't have to phone a result in. It's all done through here. What's the deadline to confirmation of the game?
I think that is in the regulations. I think it is laid out in that. I haven't got that specifically in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's laid out in the regulations. So for example, in adult regulations, so in regulation 6, it is 5:30 that the score needs to be in, and then there's a time period for that when the match card needs to be confirmed. So you could, in theory, complete make sure the score's in, like obviously the evening of the game, then come back in and do the match card or do the match events overnight and then submit the card the next day. So if you're not doing match events, then you may as well just submit the score, then go straight to the confirmation screen and then push it through, and then it's all in. You'll know you've confirmed it if you're not certain whether or not you've confirmed it as a match card administrator. If you haven't received the PDF, then you definitely haven't. Well, you should receive the PDF. It comes within a couple of minutes.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't too sure because obviously with club, you have until 5 o'clock. I think we do to phone the result in, and then obviously by midnight, normally on the Sunday, you can make sure you confirm, and you only know that it's been confirmed by the home team. You'll get an email, what you say, with a PDF.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, we'll be looking at similar timescales. So I think it's in the regulations, but if not, then we'll obviously make sure we communicate that out. So everyone is working to the same timeline.
Brilliant, thank you.
I'll just show you if I can share the right screen. Just bear with me. I am absolutely useless on Zoom. I'm not going to lie. I'll just share with you what it looks like. Still not showing it. Bear with me. What it looks like when it's online for the match events and the lineups and what have you. I've got the right one here now. Go.
Just while Matt's doing that, I'll just pick up some of the questions. Sam, yeah, we will get back to you. We're just in a very, very busy time period because the event season has started for the competition operations team, but we'll get back to you. Sarah, players, can be amended. Yeah, anytime up to an hour. Yeah, that's fine. So you'll see that the lineups are all time stamped anyway, so we can see when a lineup's been amended anyway. But yeah, that's fully amendable. So that's fine. Leon, yeah, as you said, that's a wider competition question. That would be something we'd have to look at kind of post-competition. Obviously, the regulations have been agreed for this season. But I know it's a discussion that does get brought up every now and again. So it is something that the County Championship Management Group will have a look at.
Thanks, Sam. So this is what it would look like on the fixtures and results section on the England Rugby website. Now, depending upon the level of detail that the teams and the administrators put into the match card, the more you put in, the more you'll get out. Obviously, the lineups will show because those are going to be mandatory. So you'll see those, including the substitutes here. timeline, now this is where you will see the match events if you decide to do them on an optional basis. And you can see that they're largely scoring events here. You can put discipline events in as well, such as yellow cards, interchanges and substitutions and things are in there as well. So this is what people would be able to access for in absentia, wherever they are in the world, actually. As long as they can access that fixture that's on the England Rugby website, they will be able to follow what's going on in the game, but providing that the match events are inputted from pitch side.
Matt, I think you may be able to answer Howard's question. He's been very kind to you with his example, I would say.
How do you know? God bless him. If I can see it, sorry, I'm working off too many screens here. Go on, side read it out to us because we've got that many things open.
That's fine. So Howard's saying that they've added their under 20 squads already. It's just kind of a warning to make sure the players are given the right information in terms of. So he used the example, if someone has said Matt Bryan with a date of birth in 2006, they may not show up if they are registered as Matthew Bryan. So it's just making sure that if you've got a Joshua to a Joshua or a James to a Jimmy and all that sort of thing, and just making sure we've got to that. And then the second bit, which is useful to flag, so thanks for that, Howard. And then the question is, players at uni playing in a box competition will be dual GMS registered with their university and club. I think we are okay to use either. They should be on the same GMS account. Obviously, that may not have happened all the time, but I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Matt.
Yeah, just the if so it's the compulsory fields to search for a player. So the first name isn't compulsory, but the surname and the date of birth is. So if you do get those, Jonathan, Johnny, John, Matthew, Matt, all those kind of, then you can always leave that off. It's the surname that would need to be spelled correctly, and the date of birth would need to be accurate as well. You'd be able to find the player from those two data fields.
And then just another question from Sarah there, just around, can the live view of events only be done by the home team, or could the away team do it? I don't know, Simon, do you want to go from?
So both
can't they? Both teams can do it. Depends on what data is being inputted by both sides essentially.
Yeah, so in theory, the home team can do it for the away team and vice versa. And it may well be we have some scenarios in the club game where one club does keep it for themselves, but the other doesn't, so they might only fill it in for their players. Obviously, it would be great if everyone did it, but it says by no means mandatory. I know a lot of you are multitasking, have many jobs on a day and all that sort of thing. It is very much an additive thing. But yeah, home team can do it, away team can do it on behalf of either team.
Matt, you were questioning there around, could the RFU ID number also be included in future for search in lieu if you didn't have a date of birth?
Yes, is the answer. So just going slightly off tangent, when we look at adult player registration for next season and the season switchover, we've already got a few items in development for that, which will improve the likes of search functionality across transfers and all kinds of things. And that could very well be something that appears in county sides from next season.
And just another one from Edward's side, just who can they contact to ensure the right level of access on GMS at their CB? Who, I think we mentioned it earlier, wasn't it? So basically you need to contact your ONSEC is the best person at your CB. They will have level 3 permission level, so that's permission level so that they can grant permissions for others. So if you find out who your ONSEC is at your CB, I'm sure you probably already know them if you're on this call, but if you don't, just find out who they are and make contact with them and they'll be able to support you.
And I think the other thing to mention as well, Ian, is that we've got thousands of match card administrators across the country. Match cards have been in place for some teams and some clubs as early as 2016. So there's an awful lot of expertise out there within clubs, within your CBs, where people are just doing this on a weekly basis and have been doing it for some of them for a number of years. So whilst this might be new to some people who are involved in county championships, who perhaps aren't involved in day-to-day running and teams management stuff on a weekend at clubs, there's an absolute plethora of expertise within all of your CBs of people who are used to administrating match cards and match events.
Cool. So are there any final questions on this at all from tonight's session?
Just on Howard's point there on 22 and 23. Yeah, it's just as set up as a dummy competition. So obviously our actual competitions will be set up. Will be set up in line with the regulations themselves, as they should be. So in that instance, yeah, it should be that. Benji, I believe we will be using the settings. So once they have confirmed it, you'll be able to see it.
Excellent. Well, I think that wraps up the session, guys. And if there's any last questions, just shout. But if not, thanks for giving up your time this evening. We will send a link to this recording out to you once it's ready. I hope you have a fantastic county championships with your respective teams, and it goes really well. Thanks for giving up your time tonight. I hope you found it useful.
Thank you for this evening.
Thanks all. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone.
It